Hi guys, and today we got 7 tips, so I'm gonna share them with you so you can improve your animations. So let's jump right in. Animation can be a time consuming process, and planning is a crucial step to make it easier. That is why my first tip is always start with keyframes. Keyframe animation, also known as pose to pose animation, is where you plan the most important poses first. For example, if your stick figure is jumping, you should plan the crouch, the mid-air poses, and then the landing. Once you have these keyframes, the basic structure of the animation is complete. And after that, you can fill in the in-between frames to make the movement smoother. Now there's another method called straight ahead animation, where you animate frame by frame from start to finish, without planning key poses. When I first started animating, I was using this method because it was so simple and straightforward, but I quickly ran into problems. For example, in this scene, the stick figure is supposed to land here, but because I didn't plan the keyframes, it landed here instead. And fixing this means going back and fixing all the previous frames, which is time consuming and can lead to frustrations. That's why using keyframes is very useful. It saves times, keep your animation consistent, and makes easier to fix mistakes. But that doesn't mean that straight ahead animation is useless. It's actually perfect for fluid and unpredictable animations, like fire or water effect. So the key takeaway is when to use which method. Use pose to pose for structured animations and straight ahead for spontaneous flowing movements. Camera shake. I use this trick in almost all of my fighting animations. It adds impact to the scene and makes it more dramatic. Let me show you the difference. Here's a clip without cam shake. And here's the same clip with cam shake. It's one of the little things that can improve your animations. Now let me show you how you can do it. First, enable the arrow tool in Sticknodes. Then enable camera mode and scroll to the frame that you want. In this case, after the stick figure punches. Now just change the values here and move the camera slightly in one direction, like up or down. In the next frame, move it back into the opposite direction. And that's it, you have just created a simple camera shake. If you want a more dramatic shake, like a heavy punch or explosion, just increase the value here and move the camera both horizontally and vertically for the couple of frames. As you can see here, I add camera shake for 4 frames. And we are done. But remember, don't overdo it. When you go overboard, it stops looking like an action scene and starts looking more like an earthquake. So keep it subtle for the small actions and keep the big shakes for the epic moments. Skipping frames means leaving gaps between movement to create speed or snappiness. For example, here's a character swinging a sword with all the frames. Now here is the same animation with the skipped frames. See how much quicker and sharper it feels? So you don't need to make every in-between frame, and you can skip this for these type of action sequences. For example, in this animation, I have deleted these 3 unnecessary frames, resulting in quick and snappy animation. And now let's talk about pausing, also known as double frames. It's super helpful for showing anticipation and impact in your animations. Let's see how it works. So here, none of the frames are paused and there is no impact in the punch. So to fix that, let's pause some frames. Let's add here first and here just before the punch. And finally when the punch lands. And as you can see, it added little bit of impact in the animation. But remember, pausing the frame doesn't necessarily mean that everything has to be completely still. You can still move the camera or add other effects while the main subject is paused. So don't need to be restrictive, just play around and see what works best for you. Easing is the gradual speeding up or slowing down of movement. It's what makes animation feel more smooth and natural instead of robotic. Here's the stick figure running without easing. It looks stiff and unnatural. And here's the same run with easing. You can see it looks more natural here. Now let's learn a quick way to add easing in Sticknodes. Here's a simple pendulum animation with 8 frames. It looks very linear, so let's add some easing frames. First I want to add easing just before the pendulum swings to the top. On the side panel, you will see the Add Tweened Frame button. By default, it adds the frame at 50%, means in the middle. But I want it a little higher, so I'll select 67 by clicking here and then tapping here twice. Then I'll click this button to add the frame. Next, as the pendulum swings down, I'll add another easing frame at 33% to keep the motion smooth. Let's do the same process on the other side. Let's test it now. It looks fine, but let's add a little bit more easing around here when the bell is going down. Don't forget the other side. And just like that, we have added easing to this animation. But remember, easing isn't always the answer. For example, if you're animating something mechanical like a robot arm or conveyor belt, in that case you want it to move in linear motion or something like series of quick punches. Easing can make it feel less impactful. Learning when to use easing and when not to use it is just one of the many skills that can take your animations to the next level. Remember that learning animation is a journey and there's always more to learn. That is why I want to talk about Skillshare. If you haven't heard of Skillshare before, it's an online learning platform with thousands of classes on ton of different topics like animation, motion graphics, music, photography, or just about anything else you want to learn. I have taken a couple of classes on Skillshare myself, and one of them was by Chris, where he teaches frame-by-frame animation. He covers everything from exaggeration, timing, morphing, and much more. It was such a fun and helpful class. I've also been curious about photography, so I took this class, and it was really cool to explore something new with just my mobile phone. If you have a specific goal in mind, Skillshare even has learning paths, which is a collection of classes designed to help you master a specific skill, step by step. So if you want to level up your skills or try something new, now's the perfect time. And yeah, the first 500 people to use the link in my description will receive 1 month free trial of Skillshare. So get started today. And thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. And now let's move on to the next tip. Movie clips are reusable animations or effects that you can save and use in other projects. Think of them like your favorite GIFs. You can use them over and over again to save time and effort. For example, here's a simple walk cycle. Instead of animating this every time, I can save it as a movie clip and then use it with different backgrounds. Or you can create a scene with lots of characters. You can animate each character separately and then put them together. Without movie clips, it would take forever. You can do the same with effects like these or use them for facial expressions. If you want to deep dive into movie clips, I actually made a separate video where I cover everything in detail. You can check it out right here. You can add depth and focus to your animations using background blur. This is a pro feature in Sticknodes, but trust me, it's worth it. For example, here's a stick figure standing in kitchen. Nothing special, but when we add background blur to focus on the stick figure, it adds more context to the scene. Another cool trick is using blur to shift focus between characters. Here's how the focus shifts from the blue character to the black one. You can try this trick for your fighting animations. So don't be afraid to experiment with different level of blur and see which works best for your scene. It's a simple yet powerful way to make your animations look more professional and cinematic. Auto camera is one of the coolest features in Sticknodes, and it can help you save ton of time by doing the camera work for you. For instance, check out this clip. Now let's say you want the camera to focus on the subject. We can do it frame by frame, but it will take lots of time. So to save time, we can use auto camera. And see, now it's tracking the subject. And we can also use it to zoom in on the character. So let's learn how to use it. Here's a stickman running across the background. And this is how it looks now. So I want the camera to start moving at this frame. Let's call it initial frame. Now scroll into the timeline and select the end frame. Now enable the camera mode and adjust the position of this frame. Now go back to the initial frame, scroll down and select auto camera and select the end frame number. Click OK and you're done. You can also set easing options or try out other modes. So try these features and experiment with them. So these were the 7 tips I had for you today, and also I have added some exercises for you to practice. So check out the description box and try to complete all of the exercises. If you found this tutorial helpful, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Really, it's just one click, but it helps a lot. Also, if you have any suggestions or questions, leave them in comment box below. So thank you so much for watching and happy animating. Peace.